Hey there, and welcome. We're about to dive into some of the most controversial, just fascinating texts ever found. Seriously, we're talking about a whole other set of scriptures that paint a totally different picture of spirituality. Get ready for the Gnostic Gospels.
So let's just jump right in with a big question. What if the Bible you know is only half the story? What if there was more? Other Gospels, other teachings that were buried for almost 2,000 years, telling a story so different it could change everything.
And here's the crazy part. That's not just a what if. It actually happened. Back in December 1945, in the Egyptian desert, a discovery was made that changed, well, pretty much everything. A local farmer stumbled upon a sealed jar, and what was inside sent absolute shockwaves through the worlds of theology and history.
What he found was basically another Bible. These texts were the lost scriptures of a really powerful and diverse spiritual movement from centuries ago, a movement we now call Gnosticism. We're talking about things like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, dozens of writings that revealed a version of faith that was almost completely erased from history.
Now, to really get what the Gnostics were about, you have to understand one crucial word: gnosis. It's Greek, and it means so much more than just knowing stuff, you know? It's not about facts. Think of it as a deep, personal, almost mystical kind of knowing, an insight into the divine that you get by looking inside yourself.
And for the Gnostics, this kind of knowledge wasn't just some interesting side quest. It was the whole point. It was salvation. Gnosis was the key that could unlock the prison of our material world and let the human spirit finally go back to its divine home.
And this right here shows you just how radical they were. They basically said the path to salvation was through gnosis, knowing God directly for yourself. That means no need for a middleman, no rabbis, no priests, no bishops telling you what to believe. It was all about your own personal, individual journey.
This whole idea of spiritual independence came from them wrestling with one of the biggest, toughest questions there is. You know the one. If the ultimate God is all good, then why is the world filled with so much pain, evil, and death? Where did all this mess come from? Well, the Gnostics had a truly mind-bending answer.
They basically came to the conclusion that the God who created this world, this flawed reality, couldn't possibly be the true ultimate God. So instead, they came up with this idea of, well, two gods, each responsible for a very different part of reality.
So this is where it gets really wild. On one hand, you have the true, transcendent God, pure spirit, pure light, totally beyond our world. But on the other hand, you have the creator of our physical world, a lesser being they called the demiurge. And this demiurge, he's not the big boss. He's described as ignorant, arrogant, and sometimes just plain malicious, a sloppy craftsman who botched the job of creation.
Okay, so here's the crucial part of their whole worldview. According to the Gnostics, we aren't creations of this flawed demiurge. Nope, we're something more. They believe that every single one of us carries a divine spark from the true God, a little piece of light that fell into this material world and got trapped inside our physical bodies, a prison made by the demiurge. The whole point of Gnosis, then, is to wake up to that divine spark inside you. And just listen to the names they had for this creator god. Yaldabaoth, Sakla, which literally means the fool, and Samael, the blind god. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what they thought of the architect of our reality. For a lot of them, the jealous, wrathful God you read about in the Old Testament, that was this guy, the demiurge, not the true transcendent God. So if the creator of the world is a blind fool, what does that mean for us, for salvation? Let's take a look at one of their most famous texts, the Gospel of Thomas, to see how they answered this. It paints a completely different picture of Jesus. Now this gospel is nothing like Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. It has almost no story, no birth, no miracles, no crucifixion, no resurrection. It's just a list, 114 hidden sayings that Jesus supposedly taught his inner circle. So the goal isn't to believe a story about him, it's to figure out the deep wisdom in his words. And the book starts with this absolutely incredible promise. It says that whoever discovers the meaning of these sayings won't taste death. Think about that. Salvation doesn't come from just having faith in a sacrifice. It comes from interpretation, from understanding. It's an active search for wisdom. It's gnosis.
This is pure Gnostic thinking right here. The kingdom of God isn't some place you go after you die. It's already here. It's inside you. And the path to finding it, to being known by the divine, is through self-knowledge. To the Gnostics, the ultimate command was simple: know yourself.
And you see this theme over and over again, this idea of personal revelation. Truth isn't something that's just handed down to you by some authority figure. It's something you have to uncover for yourself. Gnosis is like peeling back the layers of illusion to find the real truth that's hidden all around you and inside you.
So you have to wonder, right? If this was such a powerful and compelling way of thinking for so many people, why did it just disappear? Why were these amazing texts buried in the desert sand for nearly 2,000 years? Well, the answer comes down to a major power struggle over the future of Christianity.
See, as a more organized, institutional version of Christianity started taking shape, its leaders saw Gnosticism as a huge threat. I mean, a movement that tells people they don't need priests or bishops to connect with God, that's not exactly a great business model for building a church hierarchy. These leaders were literally called heresy hunters, and Gnosticism was their #1 target.
When you break it down, the conflict was between two totally different ways of faith. The Gnostic path was all about inner authority and that direct personal knowledge. The Orthodox path, on the other hand, was built on the authority of the Church, on faith in specific doctrines, and on salvation through Christ's sacrifice. These were two competing visions, and in the end, only one could become the mainstream religion.
The Orthodox Church won that historical battle. The Gnostic Gospels were declared heresy, they were hunted down, burned, and eventually forgotten. But their rediscovery forces us to look back and wonder. It leaves us with the exact same question the Gnostics were asking themselves all those centuries ago. If you really followed that command to know yourself, what divine spark, what hidden truth might you find?